So, hi guys, what's up? This is Taraji Farm family, and today we are starting a very new series called Shamba Talks. In Shamba Talks, we'll discuss everything agriculture, everything self-sufficiency, agribusiness, and we hope that you're going to enjoy and interact with us on the comment section. Tell us what kind of topics you'd like us to cover, and in future, we'll also bring in a few visitors, guests here and there to talk to you about various things. So my name is Wamboi.
And my name is Debera. Welcome to our very first talk. So today's topic is going to be urban rural transitioning, and especially personally, we're going to get very personal and share with your experience, the reasons why we did this, and even for that, it's more personal. I think it's individual, and that's why I'm going to ask you. For you, why did you choose this?
Yeah, I think for me it was like a mix of things. Like I think we've mentioned it before on our channel, how when I used to go shopping for veggies and fruits, I always used to ask the source of those things. Yeah, and a lot of times the sellers of those things never knew the source of the food that they were selling to us. But there's this one gentleman, you know him, right? The one we used to
Right.
buy the fruits from. And he would tell me, this is good for your kids, this is not, come tomorrow, I'll have something which is organic. And that really made me think a lot about the kind of food we consume. So when it came to making that decision of transitioning to rural life, it was so easy for me because I wanted to have the fresh food, that experience of just giving the family food that I know where it comes from. Like a lot of what we eat right now, we're the ones who plant it ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't add any chemicals.
Yeah.
So for me, that was, I think, the biggest uh, thing that made it easier to actually make that decision to transition.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like the decision came more from you, because I think you would have easily said no and you wouldn't have moved. But however, for me, biggest motivator was Corona and the stress that came with Corona and being locked in a house, and also I think I desired to have, when I come out of the house, I wanted to see some greenery. As opposed to where we used to live, you come out to the balcony and then there's a lot of noise outside
And the car park.
and the car park and everything.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what made it easier, that moving to the rural setting gave us access to that, gave some freedom. You can leave your house and walk around and look at your trees and your flowers. And getting space like this in Nairobi is very expensive. In fact, it's only for the 1%, I think, 1 or 2%. And so, yeah, I think that's why for me it was easier to move because of that.
Yeah, and you mentioned about Corona. You remember that time we watched a lot of YouTube channels talking about self-sufficiency, and we kind of made our minds shift a bit that we can have a better life, probably not in the city. It's not a must for us to live in the city for us to have a good life. Plus, as you said, where we used to live, by 5 a.m., there are a lot of cars on the road. Beep, beep. It was just so chaotic. So even just getting peaceful sleep, even late in the night, at around midnight, the same matatus, a lot of noise.
Yeah.
And also even the air was quite, you can't really compare the air we breathe here. This is what we had then.
Yeah, you can't.
It's quite different. Yeah.
And I don't even think we sat down to have a discussion whether we're going to move or not. Did we? We didn't sit down.
It was kind of an impromptu.
I think essentially we are putting up a house. We can be coming during the holidays, the kids and all that. It was not to come and actually live.
Yeah.
I think it was a sequence of events.
Plus, I think, it was just post-corona, right?
Yeah.
Or I think it was, corona was still going on. It was
immediately
post-corona.
post, yeah.
It was just post-corona. So there was a lot of stress, 2 small kids in the house. So moving didn't seem like a big deal. It actually seemed like a sort of relief from being indoors for a lot of time. And I think as I said, it was not really a very hard decision given the kind of advantages that we were going to get when we came here.
Yeah, actually, it wasn't, because remember it was a week before the elections that
Yeah.
we actually moved here.
Yeah.
And with all the campaigns and the chaos and everything and the fear that was going around,
Yeah.
We actually felt it was the right time to do it at that point.
Yes, yes. And I think maybe I can take you back because you're the one who prepared like the house and all those plans. Like, what was the journey like? Because I know you used to travel a lot to come and check on the progress, the character development. You can tell us.
There were two aspects to it, I think. You know, remember I started keeping ducks and chicken and guinea fowls, and the population was growing, and you actually enjoyed that. You come home, you eat your own eggs and all that.
Yeah.
However, constructing the house was something. It was another monster because it is the same way it is in Kenya everywhere.
Yeah.
The experience with fundis, with materials, with it's hectic, it's stressing, and unless you're this person who's got huge amount of money stashed somewhere, it's progress. You know, you do it in bits. You come do the foundation, do the walls, do the roofing. Remember, by the time you're coming here, the house was not even finished. You didn't even stay here for a while.
Tiles. It didn't have tiles. It was not painted. But I mean, we lived through it.
The feeling of being in your own home, I think.
Plus it was very big. The space was.
It was quite big.
It was. The space you can't compare with where we used to live. So everything was just like a relief. There's more space. There's space for kids to run around. It was just like a relief.
I think it would have been different if you were coming to a different sort of house. Like, remember the space you had in Nairobi? If you're coming to such a congested space, it would have made things a little difficult.
Probably even the decision to move would not have been easy. Because, I mean, if this is my own opinion though, if you have to move to the rural areas, I think have some sufficient land, like at least more than an eighth, so that you can have your house and you can do a bit of gardening. It's very refreshing. I really enjoy gardening. You can have your front yard. You can grow some flowers. So getting that kind of space is quite costly in the urban area. And, you know, we didn't want to break the bank.
It's not even the house alone. You don't want to move from a place where you got water in the sink and start fetching water.
Now that's going back to.
You don't want to move from somewhere where you have electricity
to somewhere where you don't.
You don't have light and all that. So that was important aspect, that we had a house, our own house, our own home. And then you had water. You had electricity. We had all the amenities that we actually needed, I think, at that point.
For sure, there's nothing that we really missed about being in the city. Well, apart from, let's say, the convenience, so easy when you're in the urban area. It's so easy to order something from the supermarket if you don't have. When you're in the village, you have to physically present yourself. So that's one of the things I found difficult to adjust to. It
used to be tough for me to do that, but I think as we stay here, as we grow more of our own food, I'm starting to feel that I don't want to eat in a hotel if I don't have to.
If you don't have to.
Remember what we've been discussing, like eggs now. Tell me, in this country, because when you give, let's say you have 500 birds that layers, and you get maybe 300 eggs per day. When they're sick and you give them some antibiotic, there's a withdrawal period. Some goes beyond 1 week. Tell me which Kenyan throws 300 eggs a day for 7 days.
For 7 days.
Those days at the end the shop and supermarket, people actually eating
for that. Sure. I think eggs, especially eggs for us, eggs and the everyday vegetables like sukuma wiki. Those ones, we've seen where they are grown. I mean, if you're in Nairobi and you've never ever tried to know where your things are grown, man, just try one day and you'll see. You'll be surprised. You'll stop eating everything. I think by the time when you were coming here, you were not buying skuma anymore.
No,
we had gone for a long period without buying skuma, and it's an essential part of your diet. We
get a lot of questions though on people wanting to transition from the urban to the rural.
Mm.
And unlike us, these guys have already sat down. They have a sort of a plan.
Yeah.
You have any advice for them?
I think for me, what I would say is, remember even before we moved, like when we used to visit our parents and sometimes stay for a bit of prolonged period, like 1 or 2 weeks, we would enjoy and we would see this something that you can actually do.
Yeah.
So even before moving to the rural area, I think try and go visit someone in the rural area, be family or a friend, stay for a prolonged period of time, see what they do, see if it's something you can enjoy. Because if you can't, it will be a very, very difficult transition. You have to really enjoy the rural life. It's not fast. It's quiet. Like right now, there's no noise around us. You can barely hear anything. It's very different from what we were used to when we were in the urban area, because it was chaotic. There was noise all the time.
Yeah.
So I think for me, try that first.
Yeah. Not even try. Even specifically where you want to move to, because again, places are very different. There's culture, there's traditions everywhere.
Yes.
So I think where you're planning to move to or where you purchase land, just interact with people around there and just get to know what sort of setup you're going to. Because can you imagine moving to some rural place and then moving back to Nairobi again because you didn't like it?
Because you didn't like it.
It's a costly mistake.
I know.
It takes time.
And even you've mentioned culture. You know, like where we are right now, it's a very different culture from what I'm used to.
Yeah.
But it's not like extreme in a manner that I cannot enjoy being here. Actually, I think the only thing that was kind of different when I came here is that occasionally we'd hear people screaming all over the place, and I would keep asking you, are there thugs in this place all the time? And then you told me that it happens when someone passes, these people mourn very loudly, so they scream through the night. Yeah. You see, that was kind of different.
When you come from the western part of Kenya, you will believe that people in Central don't know how to mourn. Don't know how to weep because here people have to scream and even the funerals, people have to they stay there for until midnight or sometimes the whole night. There's music, all that. Yeah, that can be difficult for someone who's not born in such an environment.
Yeah, that was so different. It was so different, but the fact that it doesn't happen every day, I think didn't affect me much. It's just the first few days. It just took a bit of time to actually internalize that those screams are not actually because of robbers.
And the other thing I think is before you move, there's actually a bit of the things, of course, you're worried about what they're going to get. Maybe in quality, in terms of quality or distance from where you're staying with, or from where you're staying, and such things. Do you have any of those?
Yeah, of course. I think there's a time that you had come check on the house before we actually came to stay here, and I asked you about the schools around here, and you actually went around and told me, okay, I've seen 1 or 2 schools. They're not very far from where we live. You think they are good schools, and our kids could go there. So that was one of the major factors, because again, you don't want to transition to rural life and then your kids don't get quality education just because of that movement that you've done. So that was huge. That was huge for me.
And just before we go on, I think school is very important because there's an issue of quality.
Yes.
Generally in Kenya, there's an issue of quality.
Yeah.
And you want your kids to go to either equal to the school they were going in Nairobi or a better school than that. And that's the biggest challenge, I think. Maybe for someone who's purchasing land, to move from the urban setup to the rural setup, it's good to consider schools. And
proximity again, because you don't want to wake your kid at 5 a.m. so that they can get to school. It really bothers me when you know how much it bothers me. It really bothers me when we travel to Nairobi and it's very early in the morning, 5 a.m. You're seeing tiny little kids around 3-4 years on the road in school uniform. That really, really bothers me. So I think if you are transitioning, that's one of the things that you can really consider, like the distance to such schools.
schools, hospitals.
To the schools, to the hospitals, but especially to the schools, because it's an everyday, almost an everyday thing. You don't want to really punish your kid. You want them to wake up normal kid times, to be picked up normal times, and to be dropped normal times. Yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe you can mention something that really shocked me, and not immediately, but over time.
Yeah.
That was because I grew up here for a few years,
Yeah.
maybe less than 10 years of my life. Then went to Nairobi for such a long time. Then came back thinking we still have that same sense of community,
Oh yeah.
like the olden days,
Yes.
but it's different. it's and that's important again for someone who wants to migrate,
Yes.
to transition from, because it's not. I don't think it's the same as it used to be, where people used to live in a community.
Yeah, it's very different.
Now it's different because there's a lot of maybe economic differences, and that brings in a lot of jealousy and other things inside there. So again, that's important for someone to consider, I think, when you're moving.
Actually, on that point, like if we were to redo this, and we've talked about this before, if we were to redo this moving to the rural area, would probably have uh, collaborated with a few friends and bought land somewhere.
Yeah.
So that way, you know the kind of people that you're living next to and the kind of people you share similar beliefs, share similar hobbies, probably. You share similar mindset. So it becomes a little bit easier to actually even, like just say, let's do a small football pitch, or let's do a running track. It becomes very easy to sort of just manage amenities, because you don't want, again, to live a less quality life than you would if you're in the urban area.
Yeah. And also, I think, but again, over time, it gets used to it. I think, like everywhere else, if you go to a new company for a job, there's the work culture you're not used to. So you assimilate in some way. You know what's good for you. You know what you don't want. You know who to speak to. You know who not to speak to.
Yeah.
You know who to collaborate with. You know to trust.
That's
Over
true.
time, you get to learn people, and then and you live. You coexist. Life goes on.
Yeah, there's something else about moving to the rural area. So for me, again, apart from what I mentioned before, the culture, the only other big shift was that I don't speak the local language.
Yeah.
That's big. I don't speak the local language. So a lot of times when I'm walking on the road,
And you're not trying to learn.
I'm not good with languages. That one I accepted. I've tried before. So when a lot of times when you're walking on the road and everybody's trying to speak to you, and then you're just like, so
No, but now you've learned the essential words. You can say hi. You
just
can
the
say thank you.
greetings, but you find someone asking you a very, like, a question, and you're like, I don't understand. Like, so I get a bit of stares on the road, but they don't bother me. Again, they don't bother me. So those are some of the things you can consider. If you're moving to a different culture, are you comfortable with such things? Because for me, it doesn't bother me. Plus, at my age, I don't think I'm trying to learn any language. I'll speak to you in Swahili, and we are good.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
But I think it's been a good journey. We're now on our third year, is it? We're going to 3 years.
Going to 3.
I think it's been a good journey.
We're on our third year.
We're on our third year. I think it's been a good journey. Because again, of the things we said, like having grown your own food, and we're going to discuss this in subsequent videos. But I think growing your own food is one of the best things that we've really experienced.
It's the best. Let me tell you, it's let's put context. And imagine you're working 8 to 5, and then let me give the urban context. Yeah, you're working 8 to 5. 5 you leave the office, you get probably to the stage 5:30. 5:30 the matatu leaves, you get home around 7. Then you remember, oops, I don't have onions, I don't have what. And then you have to go to the market. You cannot even see what you're being sold to. It happened to me a lot when I used to get home late. But now I get off work at 5, walk to the farm, pick my onions, pick tomatoes, pick fruits if there are any, pick sukuma wiki, all these kind of things just from the farm. that in itself is, it's hard to put it in words actually.
Yeah.
It's very hard. Yeah.
And something else, I think there has to be there's a mental state that you have to be to enjoy this kind of life.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who just like their lives fast.
Yes.
They like to go to malls. They like to play with electronics.
Yeah.
They like to all that city life.
Yeah.
The rural life is someone who likes to disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
Disconnect from all these things,
Yeah.
and you actually get to find yourself and enjoy the, let me call it the free things, the clean air,
things of life,
the green trees, the grass, the birds chirping.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think before you move, you need to understand your mental, I don't know what to call
your
it,
personality.
even your personality.
Yeah.
It might actually be a challenge for you if you're not someone who connects. Sometimes Kenya power here is very bad. Sometimes we don't have power for all day.
Yeah, which is terrible.
Be a dull day for you if you are such kind of person.
Yeah. So we have such scenarios, but again, the beautiful thing about self-sufficiency is that if you have power issues, then you can probably just set up your own solar panels, so that you don't have to be really dependent on the grid. So still, that's a cost actually, because even us, we've not yet put up our solar. But if you are going to a rural area where power is going to be an issue, then you can try to set up solar before you actually move there, so you don't have a lot of problems. Especially if you're going to work. You're going to work, you really need some stable power.
Yeah. Any pointers on transitioning? Any specific? Like now we've transitioned, we've actually learned.
Yeah.
But there are people starting this journey or planning to start the journey soon.
I think for us, and I'll say it in the context of what we've done, is that we've done things at our own pace. I think it's important that when you move, know what you're capable of doing at that time, grow progressively, and in 5-6 years you'll be more than settled. You'll love the place that you've built for yourself. So don't pressure yourself to have everything set up before you move. Even the house is not even complete, and we are okay, we know you'll complete it at some point. Yeah. So that is one. I think number two, if you're planning to move, like that period where you're building your house or you've already bought the land, plant fruit trees, plant your fence, so that by the time you settle there, at least there'll be a bit of greenery. And of course, now fruit trees take a long time to mature. I wish that is one thing. That is one thing that we didn't know. So we would have planted. Right now, we probably would be getting our very first fruits. But we planted our fruit trees after a while after we had settled here. So I think those are the two pointers that I would give, plus obviously what you've spoken about throughout the video.
And I also think it's important, like if you have the piece of land, you know where the house is going to be, it's good to have a plan that here I'm going to put the vegetable garden, here I'm going to put some fruit trees, here I'm going to do whatever, and then you can actually doing that. The way you're saying, you start earlier. Even if you're not done the house, you can start planting the other things early. Yeah,
and I want to give you an example. Some of these things don't have to cost you money. Sometimes, like the fence, if you have a neighbor who has a fence, just go and borrow stems.
The live fence.
Yeah, the live fence. Just go and borrow stems, put them in your land, they'll grow. Some of these things don't have to cost money. And like our fence is about 3 years old now. It's almost getting to our height. Yeah? And that, I think even the fence, we planted it a bit later. Yeah, so those are some of the things we should have done a bit earlier, so that by the time we are settling, we have our own sort of privacy. Yeah.
And in a rural area, fence is very important. A fence, a gate, because African culture, people can just come to your house and just open the door and find you sitting in the sitting room,
Yeah.
And it's not because there are any bad intentions.
Yes.
Because they are that open. Just one. They'll come to say hi to you, but they just open the door like this. So it's good to have a fence, because probably the way you're used in Nairobi are private people.
Yeah.
It's good to have a fence and a gate so you can control that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I think we've done justice to today's video.
Yep.
What do you think?
I hope so. We are open to questions.
Yeah.
This is the very first talk we've had. There's going to be many more to come.
Yeah.
Our comment section is open for any questions, and maybe in the next video you can actually answer those questions before we delve into the
next topic. For sure. So guys, we hope that you enjoyed today's talk. Tell us if you'd like us to cover any topics of interest to you. Give us some questions down in the comment section, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.